Indian River Connections brings you the first source you can watch for truth on board decisions in Indian River County. The Board Report, where taxpayers and policymakers intersect. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite platform to get notified when we go live on Fridays at 7 p.m. Visit IndianRiverConnections.com for more. Sponsored by Gus Curran's House of Champions.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Board Report brought to you by Indian River Connections. I'm Joanne Binford, and joining me today is John Karapi, co-host and managing partner at Indian River Connections. Welcome, John, and how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. If I get my internet to start, stop shutting down, but I'm doing good. Glad to be here. Thank you, Joanne.
Thank you. So we've got a good show today. We've got fluoride in our drinking water, Florida's ban on fluoride today. We're also going to be talking about Fauci protests and leading into RFK.
Nice. It'll be good. Yeah, I saw the RFK thing with the whole vaccines for the infants and pregnant mothers. So it's good to see things are starting to turn around and the reversal starting to happen, and the truth's coming out about a lot of these things, and that needs to happen. And we have a great guest for that exact reason.
Yeah, we do. And the Florida State Legislature passed SB 700, which prohibits the use of certain additives in water systems like fluoride from our drinking and bathing water. So I wanted to play a short sound bite. Well, it's a 3-minute sound bite of our Surgeon General, Dr. Lopado. I have a hard time saying his name. So let's play that, John.
Water fluoridation has been in the news a lot lately, and it started probably a few months ago when a judge ruled that the EPA needed to make some additional rules about safety regarding water fluoridation systems and the policies that communities in the United States follow related to water fluoridation. In the United States, in Florida, somewhere around 75 or 80% of Floridians are in communities that have water fluoridation. The ruling several months ago prompted me and other people to look more closely at the issue. And that ruling was based on a report that the National Toxicology Program assembled. They started actually working on it years ago, reviewing data and studies of harms and benefits associated with water fluoridation and increased levels of fluoride in water. And as I started both reading this report and reading the actual studies that the report was based on, I was appalled, frankly, just to be completely frank with you. Well, the fact is that not only, first of all, did these studies find really very, very bad outcomes, specifically, many studies have found a relationship between fluoride and fluoride exposure and intelligence. So typically, the relationship is somewhere on the order of a half a standard deviation drop in IQ in areas with higher levels of fluoridation, which is a profound effect on health and has profound implications. But there are also neuropsychiatric risks that have been raised, including things like attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, including things like problems with executive function and decision making and other behavioral problems in children. And so the typical criticism has been that these studies were in countries like China or India, where, say, the naturally occurring amounts of fluoride are much higher than what we have here in the United States. Well, it turns out that, in fact, that wasn't true. So in the last 5 or 6 years, there have been several studies that have been published. Dr. Mallon has actually published some of these studies in communities in Canada, also in the United States, where levels of fluoride are actually quite similar to the levels that we have here in this state and in this country. And these studies have actually found the same findings, that moms and children exposed to higher levels of fluoride have experienced adverse neurologic and neuropsychiatric effects. I mean, it's appalling, but it's actually been documented in multiple studies now.
Wow. That's crazy, right?
Yeah, he's 100% right on everything that he says there. I mean, especially with the neurological thing, because I mean, it does dumb people down. It does make you docile. It does make you, submit to things that you normally wouldn't do. It just makes you, not think for yourself, and that's all by design to make people, be, in a lower frequency, in a lower vibrational state of mind, and that he's telling you the truth, and that's what needs to come to the light.
Yeah. And, that's why it's so nice that we're having today's special guest, Deana Vincuillo, who's been attending the Board of County Commission meetings to discuss removing fluoride from our drinking water for over a year now. We're gonna dive into it with her. And she, if anybody doesn't know who she is, she's been on our show before, and she's a mom, a citizen, and a community leader battling our local government for changes in our water system. She numerously spoke out for the health of all of us, the citizens and people in Florida and people around the country. Right, John?
Yeah, absolutely. No, she's new to the community, but she dove right in when she seen what was happening. She'll tell you her story with it and what she did in New York and what she saw there. So it all ties together now that, people have to come to the forefront and bring these things to the table and hold people accountable, because that's what the board report's all about. Taxpayers and policymakers intersect, and that's what we need to be. We need to make sure, hold them accountable and at least call them out on the certain things that we see that they should be doing.
Yeah. So everybody stick around for this exclusive interview with Deana Vincuillo, a warrior citizen of Indian River County, and we'll be right back after this commercial break.
Tired of the same old workout? Come knock out your fitness goals at Gus Curran's House of Champions. Founded in 1996 right here in Vero Beach, Florida, our Hall of Fame trainers will push you to your limits and beyond. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, we have the perfect class for you, including the one-of-a-kind rock-steady Parkinson's training. So come join the fight and unleash the champion inside you. Give them a call, 772-713-1157, or go to gchouseofchampions.com.
Hi, Deana. How are you?
Thank you for that introduction. I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing really good. So, Deana, tell us a little about yourself and how you became an advocate for the people regarding the dangers of fluoride in our drinking water.
Well, prior to what I was fighting medical freedom in New York, when I came here, I saw that they were adding hydrofluorosilicic acid to the water system. And so actually a year ago, Carolyn, Lisa, and I sat down with Joe Ehrman, one of our county commissioners, and we explained all of the hazardous, health-wise, like everything that's going into this medicine, and that we do not consent. We gave them scientific research. We gave them numerous studies, and they were going to, look over it. We kept following up, and nothing. Then we met with, a couple weeks later, Joe Flesher, which also is a county commissioner. And he actually said he was going to be our champion and he was going to help us. And then it was no response, nothing at all. And so we just kept checking in. And then, we were also following, it also happened in Collier County with, they removed it from there. So I was trying to get in touch with those people to help us. And then I was connected with Justin Harvey, who started, across state, helping all the counties and the cities. So I started showing up at the meetings, like, you're not answering my emails, and I'm like, all right, here I am. Like, why are you putting it on the agenda? Just for discussion, to get voted on so people can see what is going on here, that we're getting medicated without our consent. This is deemed a medicine. And still, until the day, like, even though it passed, I still went there because they have 2 months in order to remove it still, and they will not do it. They're waiting until July 1st. So still want to medicate everybody until their law tells them to take it out, knowing that it is hazardous, because I even spoke with Sean Litsky, who is the water director of Indian River County. He was at that meeting I attended, and I asked him, like, you know, why aren't you shutting it off? And he's just like, well, because it's hazardous. Okay, now you're admitting it's hazardous. Before you're telling us it's natural fluoride, and now you're saying it is hazardous. So these people don't care about the health of Indian River County, and they need to be voted out.
Yeah, I have a couple of sound bites of your presence at those meetings, and just like that video, that sound bite that we played before the commercial, you know, that was back in December when the Surgeon General was telling us how dangerous this is, and then you were at the Melbourne meeting in January, and let's play that sound bite.
Florida just became the second state to ban statewide water fluoridation. I'm here today because I want to know, what are your plans for removing the hydrofluoric acid and the hydrofluorosilicic acid, and when will this elimination take effect? Did we know that?
Oh, this one is in, May. This is the May meeting.
Been on the agenda, right?
Directive
for discussion. Okay. Will you wait for the state to process this on July 1st, or will it happen before then? Actually, I just briefly spoke with Sean Litsky, and it seems like, since we're only 2 months away, business as usual will happen until the state ban takes effect. And of course, learning how to safely remove this hazardous materials from the water, which is what he actually said specifically, hazardous. I have mentioned to you before, there are 2 Florida statutes, 859.01 and 381.026, that discuss everything I've mentioned to you. So I started speaking with you guys about a year ago about the medication known as hydrofluoric and hydrofluorosilicic acid in our water system. And I've asked you numerous times to get you to put this agenda as a discussion so we can hear all sides. And you all failed to do that. I sent you all numerous studies and the recent science backing up what we have been talking about, and it was all ignored, still allowing to force medication on the people of Indian River County, which all of the surrounding cities and counties around us have removed it. The state took away your local control to force medication without informed consent. No one was informed that the fluoride added to our water was acid. It's really disturbing that this was never a discussion for the people. It just shows that local government does not help the local people, that in fact, we do indeed need the state to help us, especially with issues regarding our health. You quoted, "We work for the taxpayers," and I don't feel that you've worked for us or even let us have a fair discussion. What is the incentive for not putting this topic for discussion? I did hear from one of you that the city and the county receives grants for promoting fluoride, again, known as acid, in our water system. I was also so optimistic that our local government wanted to help and heal the people, even when numerous people told me it would not happen and it was a lost cause. I'm really sad that this local government did not represent any of the people. I will continue to inform local people of my journey here and my experiences with both local governments, county and city, except for Taylor Dingle. He was a champion for helping us, and at least he got the topic on the agenda for discussion. A whole year has passed and the state came in and did it anyway. I want to wish you a wonderful day and God bless you all.
Yeah, that's a soundbite from just recently.
Yeah.
Just recently you went before them, and this is after that video we saw from December, right? Yeah. And you've been going there, back and forth to try to fight this case, and they never put it on the agenda.
Never, not even for a discussion. I wasn't even asking. I mean, of course, I would love it on the agenda for a vote, but not even for a discussion. Not even let's talk about it. I even said, let's get both sides. I'm not saying like my side's the right way, but get other people in here and let's fairly talk about this. And they still would not put it on the agenda. So I'm like, what is the incentive here? Right. And so Laura, we spoke at the Hispanic Republican group. Carolyn and I spoke, and Laura Moss came in, and she went right up to the podium and interrupted Carolyn as she was speaking, which I thought was really rude. and she started handing out these flyers, and within those flyers, which I was trying to locate it before this, but I couldn't find it, talks about like these grants that they get. Now, I know that HHS, prior to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., was giving out like $100 million a year to the states to distribute fluoride promotion.
Yeah.
So I know that was the one thing he was going to end. So they are they're getting money somehow. 100%. I can't prove it, but but they are getting.
So is there vested interest in grants or their constituents?
Exactly.
Yeah. It's always follow the money. It's always follow the money.
Oh.
It really is. It's sad.
It's really sad. It's really sad that they've known about it for a full year, and did nothing. Not even putting it on for discussion.
Well, and it's not like they don't have access to the Surgeon General or DeSantis or any of these people. They could have, if they could have said, hey, we keep having this citizen come up and talk to us about the fluoride. They could have wrote to them. They have their emails. They have ways to contact them, but they didn't do any of that.
They don't want to bring attention to it. That's why. If you do that, then you bring attention to it. Then it's like, like what's going on down there? What are you guys doing? It brings attention to what they're doing. So then people find out about it. So they don't mind you coming to the meetings and doing what they're doing.
Right. And then Laura said, well, there's the farm bill, so it's going to pass. So why even put it on?
So they pass the buck. Exactly. Yeah. That's all.
Yeah. And it should be all about making your constituents aware. Exactly. Informing your constituents, working for your constituents. That's exactly what you said when you were there. You are not working for your constituents.
Right. Ehrman was like, well, I did speak with people and they want the fluoride. I said, but did you tell them that it's acid, that it's a medication? He's like, well, no. And I was like, okay, maybe you should ask them about that and then see how they feel.
Right. Give them the information. Informed consent.
Exactly.
Just like the vaccine.
Hey, this pill's going to make you feel good, but I'm not going to tell you what it does to you.
How to tell you what ingredients, what fillers are in it, what foreign substance. Yeah, it's.
Yeah, just like the vaccine.
You even went to Melbourne, and you were saying that you guys won that case. I wanted to play that soundbite, so let's go to that soundbite.
Our Surgeon General has issued guidance recommending against fluoride for
all
municipal
that's the Surgeon
water
General.
statewide.
Hold on.
Our state is now up to 36 counties with fluoride
is that
being
it?
removed.
Yeah.
It is illegal to medicate people through a municipal water system. The chemical composition of the substance being used to fluoridate the water is this hydrofluoric acid. Actually has a picture on the packaging of a skull and bones and says danger.
Wow.
And then I have the actual safety data sheet here, and on it says may be corrosive to metals, harmful if swallowed, toxic if in contact with skin, causes severe skin burns. So we are drinking, cooking, bathing, washing hands, swimming in this toxic water several times a day, especially our skin being a sponge. I do not consent.
Don't consent.
That's right. And our skin is the biggest organ on our body, absorbing all of it.
Absolutely.
Aside from ingesting it, because we're healthier today. We want to drink lots of water. We drink water shakes. We drink water, just to rehydrate all the time with our little packets that we put in the water to make it flavorful so that we can stay hydrated. And if we're taking our tap water, we're getting exposed to that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Making your coffee with it, everything. Everybody just constantly using it for whatever purposes, especially consumption, and then even the whole thing is that they try to bring up the fact that it's, it's good for your teeth and it's going to keep your teeth safe. We got to keep it in the water. And that slowly did after a while, then it was like, well, no, it's not even about your teeth. It's not even about fluoride. It's about the fact that it's acid. And like you kept explaining to them, it's informed consent. They gotta listen to the people. But as you notice in those sound bites, there's like nobody in the audience. Like there's nobody there. You're just there speaking. Okay, there's 8 people in the stand listening. It's nobody's paying attention. That's the whole point.
And I said, logically speaking, how does drinking water go to your teeth. It
It
goes
does.
down your system into your organs. It doesn't
Exactly.
not treat your teeth. That doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
And you know, and I love how she asked them, are you going to, do you have a plan to start filtering it out of the water? Or are you going to wait till July 1st? And it was silent.
Yeah.
And Flusher's like, no. I'm like, why haven't they been thinking about this? You've been putting this on the plate for them to work with, and they've done nothing.
Nothing.
No, true.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. I'd like to see them out and about in the area. So I'd like to bump into them.
So Deana, how did you feel when you heard Florida is the second union in the second state in the union to take measures to get this stuff out of our water?
I mean, I was really excited, and a lot of people like congratulated me, but my focus was local. That was my thing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so it was really hard because I tried really hard to do it on a local level. And so, I mean, I was very happy, but, you know, not succeeding locally, it was hard.
Yeah, that takes a lot of work. And, you know, these county commission meetings, they are in the morning when everybody's working, you know, so the people, and that's a good way for people to lose interest, because when they do retire or when they switch job schedules, they're not interested in going because they've never gone before. It's really hard to get the community engaged.
And a lot of the other counties and cities around us or throughout the state, most of them do it later on at night, because the one in Melbourne, it started at 6 o'clock, but they didn't get to the fluoride agenda until 12:30 at night. So I was there until like 2 o'clock in the morning.
So let's take a commercial break. And when we come back, let's talk about the Fauci protests. All right, so everybody stick around. We'll be right back after the Warrior Shield commercial.
Warrior Shield Foundation is here to unite, honor, and provide support for veterans, first responders, and Gold Star family members. The foundation will enable them to find the help they need through direct assistance or by connecting them with our shared vision network. Using data-driven models, we provide solutions that make a long-lasting difference. We, along with our partners, are dedicated to bringing together like-minded groups and individuals who have committed to making a difference in the lives of our hardworking, everyday heroes. We bridge the gap by connecting warriors or their families with the assistance they deserve and require, such as service dogs, wheelchairs, counseling, scholarships, and team building retreats, to name a few. You can help right now to make a difference for those who have helped and protected us all. Warrior Shield Foundation, selflessly doing for those who need it most.
It's a long way to home, but you won't take the hard road all alone. Just look to your left and look to your right. You were born to fight.
Indian River Connections brings you the first source you can watch for truth on board decisions in Indian River County. The Board Report, where taxpayers and policymakers intersect. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite platform to get notified when we go live on Fridays at 7 p.m. Visit IndianRiverConnections.com for more.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Board Report, brought to you by Indian River Connections. We've got John Carapi and Deana Vincuillo. Oh, that's a tough one.
Oh, yeah.
So, guys, what about these Fauci protests going on in Sarasota?
Yeah, Deana, you went to that, right?
Yeah, so I ended up going. It was interesting because Fauci was getting an award, and all of these like late baby boomers were attending, and so we just thought we'd go there and peacefully protest. It was actually the people that are attending the event were really nasty and really mean, and it was like one guy threw a cup of coffee on one of us, and the cursing and the spitting on us. It was pretty interesting.
It's pretty scary, right? I mean, it's just you wouldn't think that it would be that way. I mean, they're going to see somebody get an award, but they can't handle the fact that maybe this guy's a fraud, and he always was from day one. I always like to call him Dr. Fugazi. That's what I called him from day one. It was Dr. Fugazi, because I knew he was a fraud from the minute he opened his mouth.
Oh yes, absolutely.
He made millions off of the pharmaceutical industry,
big time,
and off of us.
So there was this group called the Widow Warriors, and it was all of these women that lost their husbands because of his protocol during COVID.
Wow.
One husband went in for a chest X-ray, and then he ended up dying because they put him on remdesivir and all of that stuff. And
they said he had COVID because they fake false positive test. Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
And so seeing the backlash from the people attending this, especially to these, like one woman was just like, glad your husband died. Like, it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's just insane.
I got a little sound bite of that
here we go.
protest. Let's throw the sound bite up there.
We all need to be able to hear and listen to each other and communicate, and there shouldn't be this hatred that sort of kind of goes hand in hand with some of these things. People said, we don't want him to come here and just be able to come in and just say whatever he wants to without people understanding that there is another side. Vaccines are not perfect, and a vaccine that was put together in record time is going to have some problems, and we think it has a lot of problems, and we want people to know that.
So everything about this has been bad. And guess who's in charge? Fauci. So we're unhappy that Fauci's here.
Oh.
Man. These people are just, they're mocking Fauci.
Please go back to your car and get your vaccine passport.
Florida
Oops.
became the second
Sorry,
state
I got to
to
get
ban
to my
statewide
3.
water fluoridation.
Where's my
I'm here
3?
today.
There we go. There we go.
Yep.
Sorry about that, guys.
Right.
But yeah, a lot of people showed up.
Yeah, and then after the protest, we went to this park, and our Surgeon General Latipo was there, and the Widow Warriors spoke, and some like other doctors, and Jimmy Levy sang, and it was really nice. Yeah, it was really nice. Joshua Coleman, who's being interviewed, he's the one who started this campaign, like back in 2019. We've worked with him. We did the Oprah when she was on our health tour. We protested that. We did Times Square. Then one day, actually, I was actually in Florida at the time, but we had up signs on the interstates to about the COVID vaccine. So, this is his idea with the shirts and the COVID signs. Like, that's all him.
Well.
Yeah, they did a good job. I see them behind you, the big signs back there. That's that's awesome. Hey, get it out, get the word out there. This way the drive got people in their cars can see them and read them. I love it. This is so great. So I got another little sound bite on Fauci I'd like to share. Let's pull it up.
Dr. Fauci, the CDC is saying that this is based on new science, new data, showing that even those who are vaccinated can carry the virus with them. They can be contagious. This seems to contradict what we've been told, that once you get vaccinated, you're protected.
Well, in some respects, yes, but what's changed, Judy, is the virus has changed.
Go get those 4 vaccines.
And the discussion that we were having months ago that the CDC was basing
got a new name.
Their recommendations on, we're dealing what was called the alpha variant. which is considerably different than the Delta variant. The Delta variant has a very unusual capability of spreading much more easily than the Alpha did. And the other data that we're having right now is that when people get breakthrough infections, when they're vaccinated and they get infected, even when they have a situation where they don't have an advanced disease,
what was the point?
They clearly can transmit it to other people. This is not a common event. So I don't want people to be thinking that all kinds of vaccinated people are transmitting it. No, it's a very unusual, rare event, but it occurs. So when you have vaccinated people who might have a breakthrough infection, and we know now as a fact, as a scientific fact, that they can transmit the virus to an uninfected person, it's for that reason that the CDC made the change in recommendation and did just as you correctly stated, namely that if you are vaccinated, if you are in an indoor setting, you should still wear a mask.
Do you love this?
If you're in an indoor setting, you should still wear a mask. Oh my God.
Yeah, where's my 3 times? Oh my gosh, hold on.
It was like a Alpha, Delta, Omega Mu variant. It was so bad. It was like, what are we going to come up with next? You know,
Like,
but then
why are you even? Yeah, and why are you even getting the shot after that? Just information. Like, what's the point?
Under emergency authorization, which means I went to, at that time, I went to like all the pharmacies to get a packaging insert, and it said intentionally left blank, and I'm like, of course, there's nothing to write about.
I did too. I did the same thing. I went in and some of them showed it to me. Some people didn't. The one lady, she brought it out and she was going to show it to me, and the pharmacist told her not to, that there was nothing in it. And she goes, "That's fine. Anyway, I'm quitting anyway. I'm going to Texas to be with my son." She was quitting. She worked at the pharmacy, and she said she was quitting and going back to Texas. She's like, "I can't do this anymore." And she was like, she could see it. Like, this is no good. Like, this is a bad thing. But she was going to show it to me. The pharmacist was like, don't show that to him. And she was like, "Why not?" He's like, "It's blank." And I was like, wow. I was like, holy crap. Like, yeah, just informed consent.
Yeah.
They had our youth so brainwashed at the time, because my daughter is in Colorado, that when she came to our free state of Florida and we went into Publix, she didn't have to wear her mask, but she was so programmed in Chicago because she did college there during the COVID. And then when she was after that, she was still having to wear a mask. Like, you could get in big trouble when you were there. I told her, you're not putting your mask on to go in there. She just was having a hard time with the idea that she could walk into Publix without a mask. That's how brainwashed they were over there in Colorado. And I really had to re-engage her in reality while she was here visiting. I was like, no. We even went and walked on the beach, and she was like, "We shouldn't be on the beach." Like, yes, we're going to the beach.
Wow. Jeez.
And, it just was so shocking. I didn't recognize my daughter for that little moment there, because I was like, I raised my kids to be constitutional warriors, but she was in that state for so many years, and during all that time, and if you were caught on campus without a mask, or if you were caught walking your dog without a mask and the campus found out about it, you would get in trouble at school.
Oh.
But there's no law. There's no law. So you cannot tell me, should I set myself on fire to keep you warm? Like, no.
I love that one.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I fought with so many people in New York. It was horrible. It was really bad.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Store managers cursing at me, and I'm like, call the cops. Like, there's no law. You can't make me. According to Executive Order 202.17, if I cannot medically tolerate a mask, I don't have to wear one. So here it is, right there from Governor Cuomo. And they're just like, yeah, well, we're private. And I said, no, you're not. You're still serving the public. You're not private. You can't tell me what to do.
That was such a terrible time that I hope people remember it enough to just stand up against it if they try to do that again.
They need to, yes.
You'll see some people out there wearing masks, but I'm like, okay, maybe they have cancer or something, because there's absolutely no reason to wear a mask now. And even during COVID, those PCR tests were at such a high rate, they would detect a dead person with a virus.
No, even the guys who need it.
Yeah, they were just false positives. That's all they were. They were set up just be false positives, and then like, oh, it's like you said, the guy that went to go X-rayed, and they were like, oh, you got to get on a ventilator, and we got to put you on a remdesivir, because they tested him for being positive, and then they just like, oh, he's got COVID. Oh shit. It's just that was all by design. And just like you said, it's mass formation psychosis. It's a psychological manipulation of consciousness. So just like you said, Joanne, you didn't recognize your daughter because she was being psychologically manipulated. Her consciousness was being manipulated to obey and to conform and to keep doing foul orders. Don't question authority.
Or you'll be in trouble. Yeah. Authority, you got to follow the rules. Here in Florida, we were just so different. I'm so glad that we lived here.
That's why I never left the state, So I was like, I'm not going to go. Why would I want to go to somewhere that I'm going to go get off the plane and go, okay, I'm in a whole different world now. Like it was the opposite for me. If I would have went somewhere and we were in Florida this whole time, compared to your daughter who came to Florida and was like, oh, what the hell? This is like, I don't have to wear a mask. Like, this is weird. It's the opposite effect. That's why I didn't leave the state.
Yeah, we were very lucky here. And even with businesses, and even as good as our state was when they did the 25% capacity of businesses and restaurants, it still affected a lot of our small businesses here.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that? And then we had that group that was going around checking businesses to see if they let people walk in without masks and then reporting them.
Yeah.
Oh, it was terrible.
Oh gosh, reporting on your neighbor.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was bad, but the good, like we said, the good thing is that, Florida did, scale things back a lot quicker than other states. So it definitely made sense. And then, getting back on the other subjects, it's like, I see what's happening in Florida with the fluoride. Now we got the geoengineering. What's going on with that? Like we're seen to be at the forefront of trying to get rid of a lot of things that have been a problem, that might have been conspiracies before, that are actually true and actually real. Weather modification, these crazy hurricanes. What's going on with that, Deana? Do you know anything that's like going on with that bill with DeSantis?
I haven't seen anything of him signing it yet. But I was told July 1st, so I'm not sure exactly. But he went down to Miami and he talked about the whole fluoride, and that was a whole thing. So I'm like, where's the other one? Is that happening? Like, I know the bill passed, but I didn't hear of him like actually signing it yet. And then I heard it's supposed to, July 1st it'll be effective.
The other good news we have is RFK, HHS secretary, no longer are you going to be able to force this immunization on children and pregnant mothers, which is fantastic.
Wow.
And they just really need to get rid of the COVID shot, the mRNA, get it out of there. You don't need that in there. And our immune system, I think, is the strongest defense mechanism that we have. Remember when we were kids, I used to drop food on the floor and eat it all the time when I was a kid.
Yeah.
All the time. Yeah. I did hear, and I don't know if this is true or, but I did hear that they pharmaceutical companies are trying to add in the mRNA into all the earlier childhood vaccines as well.
Oof. Yeah, no.
Wow.
No. And the other thing that they need to change too is the amount of vaccines that they're giving children. I was at CareNet the other day, and last week it was, and she brought me a sheet that shows all of the vaccinations that go in your kids' shots. And I was flabbergasted because I was like, when my kids were born in the early 90s and late 90s. So when they asked me to vaccinate my kids, I had them spread it out because they didn't put so many in one vaccine. And it blew my mind. I was like, there's that many vaccines in one shot of a little tiny baby.
1 year of life. 1 year of life is over 30 vaccines. From 0 to 18, it's 72 plus.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That is the CDC schedule.
That's crazy. 72 plus.
That's a lot.
Because all the boosters and all of that,
That is a lot of
So
drugs going into your kids.
Your immune system getting pummeled after, and so remember a child's immune system is not as built up yet, and as they become accumulated to germs and everything like that. So all those shots and shot after shot is just like, oh my God.
Aluminum, mercury, formaldehyde, aborted fetal tissue, animal aborted fetal tissue. Like there's just goes on and on.
Oh, that's scary.
And the kids battle
people that have like genetic like MTHFR and that can't folate certain chemicals in their bodies, that's what develops autoimmune and other things. So
yeah, and breastfeeding is always good. You transfer all of that to your child. Natural. Doing a lot of the natural things are good. For our bodies, and it helps our bodies get stronger.
Right.
Yeah.
But are you happy that RFK is the HHS secretary?
I am happy that he is HHS. Yes.
You think he's going to do a lot of good things with all these vaccines and drugs they're trying to pump into us?
We shall see. I'm eating my popcorn, so we shall see.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I know that he knows the MMR causes autism. Is he going to do something about it? We'll see. We'll see. He's getting a lot of backlash for it. And, there was this guy, Dr. Brian Hooker, and he was the one that the William S. Thompson is a whistleblower from the CDC. He came to Dr. Brian Hooker and he said, here are the files that we found that the MMR causes autism. And so Dr. Brian Hooker is also a scientist, and his son has autism as well. And he was supposed to appear to Congress and let people know about this. And he was stopped, and he was told that the people weren't ready to hear it yet. And the person that stopped him is the Secretary of HHS. So, why weren't the people ready to hear that yet? You know what I mean? Maybe there's a bigger picture here. That's why I'm like, let's see what happens. He is doing, good things and making aware of stuff, but he knows about the vaccines. He knows how harmful they are. He does.
Yeah.
So
he absolutely does, because he studies all that and he watches all that. It's just, when is he going to bring it to fruition and say, okay, we're going to change this. We're going to do it.
Right.
I think probably needs to hear a lot more of it from us, the citizens, to get him moving on it.
Right.
Yeah.
And he has, I've seen him speak numerous times in our medical freedom community. So we'll see. I don't know how it works, when you get into a position like that, I don't know how that works.
Yeah. Well, and if we discuss it with DeSantis or keep sending information to DeSantis, that DeSantis will reach out. DeSantis has done a lot of good things for Florida, and I think he's still doing them. He's still working on a lot of things for us. I know that he spoke out on the big, beautiful bill, not having enough of the Doge cuts in there. He's been working really hard. So really glad that DeSantis is still our governor. But we've got the 2026 elections coming up.
Yeah.
And all this information that we're sharing about, how our county commissioners reacted to you bringing this information to them,
it's huge.
even after Dr. Lopado had announced the dangers of fluoride, and they still didn't even put it on the agenda for discussion.
They said that was political because of his reaction during COVID. Because he was one of the American frontline doctors. So they said that's political.
But the American frontline doctors were the actual doctors coming out and telling us the truth.
But they got a mark.
That's not a political statement. They lost. Some of them lost their jobs. What's
but they
lost their credibility. Yeah.
They got a mark on them though, so they have a strike against them. So that's the thing, just like the African doctor too. What's her name?
Simone.
Yeah. So I mean, they all have exit marks on their back. So they once you bring up their name, it's like, oh no, they were anti-COVID, they were anti-vax, they were anti-man. They were bad. So that's why. But yeah, it's all the truth's coming out, just like Jennifer Pippin said in the in the chat, it's the truth's coming out. Dr. Posca got fired from Cleveland Clinic for speaking out in Tallahassee about the mandatory vaccines. So now he's on the school board. So we got people in the right places. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, and Jennifer's right. If we can't make local change, we have to make the change at the state level. Exactly. And we've got like I said, we've got elections coming up in 2026, and these are primary and local elections. We've got Joe Flesher. Is he going to run again? Can he run again? And then we've got Lore as our county commissioners. He's running again as well. I don't know if he's putting in, but he can be the incumbent to run against. So like this information is really important to see how they are reacting towards their constituents. And like you also mentioned, they got grants for fluoride to put in our water to make us sick. Yeah. And if this money is outweighing the information that the constituents are bringing to them, we have to ask, where are you invested? Are you vested in your constituents, or are you vested with the grant writers to do things and then doing those things for the grant writers, and not doing enough research? I just feel like there was a lot of research that you brought up. You brought statutes, you brought information, you brought the actual terminology of the fluoride. Instead of just calling it fluoride, it was hydrofluoric acid. I mean, you did your research. And I was there that one day with you when I went, and he still was like, well, I need data.
And I gave him the data. I sent him all of these amazing data links. Did he open them up? Probably not, because,
And it just wasn't enough because you didn't have enough grant money to support that.
Right. I didn't have the people behind
Possibly.
We didn't have power. I mean, power by numbers, it was hard. There wasn't a lot of people that showed up. I don't know if some people say they called and emailed, but I don't know. You just have to show up in person. And it was, like you said, it was like 9 o'clock. It was hard for people to get there, especially if you're working.
Yeah, a lot of people
And even the time I went to the city council meeting with you and spoke and, about the fluoride and everything like that, like after we left, we were, the one guy called me an anti-vaxxer, because they put 2 and 2 and they say, if you're that, then you're this too. And so you get kind of the stigma of that too. And that's where you have to be a warrior like Deana, and everybody else that's part of what we do in your connections in the board report. Joanne ran for county commissioner. I went to the school board meetings, lost a job because of it. People have lost other things. That's how we met Mike, our producer, at the school board meeting. So we all came together at this time. Jennifer Pippin in the chat, telling us about all the different things that went on that inspired me to come to the school board meeting. So that's what we needed. So this is why we're doing what we're doing, just to bring to awareness so that when the election does come, then people will say, well, Flesher, even though they said to take the fluoride out of the water, he still didn't do it. Even though he should have did it, he wanted to wait till the deadline. So he'd rather poison people than to stand up for the people of this community. And people have to remember that come election time.
Right. I mean, he said he was going to be our champion, that he's all into health and everything. So I don't know what happened that changed.
They talk out of both sides of their mouths. That's why. Yeah.
Right.
That's all. He just figures I'll push it down the line. They'll pass it, and then I'll get a pass, even though that as we speak, they're still putting it in the water.
Right. Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. If I was on the book county commission, I would raise my hand and say, you know what, maybe we should take it out of the water since they said it. Why we should wait till July? But that grant money they got, you can't give the money back, so you have to do what they told you to do with the money. So if you don't put it in the water, they want their grant money back.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It's always about the money.
And it's important. I'm glad we're having these conversations because people need to see what's going on and they need to process it, because when elections come up, guys, you have to decide, do you want somebody that's vested in the constituents or vested in the grant money that's making things roll? Do you want more storage units? Do you want more car washes? What do you want for your county?
Yeah, you're right, because I mean that's the other thing is, like, I was hearing about these car washes and everything. I was asking people, I'm like, why are they allowing all this stuff to come in our community? We don't need this, but they'd rather do that than do the right thing. More car washes.
Yeah, most people own their own house here. They can wash their car in their driveway. We're not we're not inundated with rental housing like apartments where you have no place to wash your car. But we've got all these fancy car washes coming up, and I'm like, are people that lazy, or do people have enough money to pay for these car washes? I just wash my car in my yard.
They're fronts. These car washes are fronts for other things, and the county lets them come in, the city lets them come in, but they're fronts for bigger companies. It's all by design. It's all part of the process. Grease one hand, do the other. Oh, let's open up another car wash.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, Deana, I want to thank you for coming on board. We always love having you on board and for fighting for really working hard for our county to better it and better our health and our kids. I mean, it affects all of us, our kids, our grandkids, our whole families,
our pets,
Yeah. And, I was thinking of you when I heard that the fluoride was banned in Florida. I was like, wow, that's amazing. I know somebody that was a champion at that. Woohoo, girl.
You guys were there too. You came,
Feel like I know somebody famous now.
Well, we walk the walk, you got to talk the talk too. You talk the talk, you got to do it. You just can't just talk about it or type it in on Facebook. You have to show up at these meetings, and that's what we all did. That's how we all met each other, is all these different meetings. So that's what we all did. We stood up and we decided to go to these meetings where other people don't, and that's fine. We have no problem with that. We'll fight for them too. I'll keep fighting till they wake up.
I'm going to go to the next county commission. I'd like to go to the city council too, but I'm just going to keep going there and just be like, shame on you.
They just don't care.
Yeah, that's right. So guys, I'm going to close it out. Deana, you have any 15 seconds you want to wrap it up with?
No, I just thank you guys so much for inviting me onto the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and let us know what the next endeavor is so we can put that out.
Absolutely. When's the next one?
Right.
The vaccines for our babies.
Yeah, well, that's something I'll always fight for. So.
Right.
That's why when I heard Joshua Coleman was doing this, I was like, I'm there. I'm going.
That's great. That's awesome.
All right. Well, thank you guys. And we'll be back on Friday. So for everybody out there, thank you for joining us at the board report, and hit the like, share, and subscribe tab to get notified when the board report is going live. Visit IndianRiverConnections.com to visit our network of podcasts like To The Point Podcast, TGI Now, the Connecting People and Places podcast, and of course, Binford Chronicles. And remember, again, the board report airs every Friday at 7 p.m. And make sure you check us out on Rumble, X, Facebook, and YouTube. So everybody have a good night, and we'll see you next Friday.
Indian River Connections brings you the first source you can watch for truth on board decisions in Indian River County. The board report, where taxpayers and policymakers intersect. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite platform to get notified when we go live on Fridays at 7 p.m. Visit IndianRiverConnections.com for more. Sponsored by Gus Curran's House of Champions.